We have an Ashikai video. Paimon and Project Stuzha. Are we going to learn Paimon's true weakness in Snezhnaya? Let's watch this together and figure that out.
Snezhnaya is far and away the most hyped nation Genshin's ever had, and for good reason. It's where a lot of the prime movers of the main plot, like the Fatui and the Gnosis, come from, and we are—
And also the Shades. Well, they don't come from there, but the Shades are going to play a massive part in this.
We're so close to learning more about these things.
Yup.
And yet, I feel like the most unexpected yet pressing question on everyone's mind right now is actually, what the heck's wrong with Paimon in the teaser trailer? She looks sick, cold, and tired, and none of those are Paimon traits.
Yeah, she got asthma, bro. She got asthma.
Paimon is bubbly and full of energy and always floating around, so it feels really weird to see her just sitting there. In fact, I don't think this has ever happened before.
Is this the first time we've ever seen Paimon sitting and not floating? Oh my god, I've just realized that. I've literally just realized that. Maybe she lost her ability to fly, bro. I guess she has slept on beds before, I guess, but never sat like this. This looks weird, dude.
Weird to see her just sitting there.
It is weird.
In fact, I don't think this has ever happened before. So it's definitely a topic worth pursuing.
Yeah.
Now, I have my own ideas on what might be wrong with Paimon, and I've shared my musings on stream once or twice, but not everyone watches those, and I've also had a little time to sit and stew in my own thought juices, so I thought now would be a good time to sort of compile all of those thoughts into something a bit more cohesive.
Hell yeah.
And also accessible, because no one wants to scroll through like a 4-hour stream to find like the thoughts about this one little thing, you know? But I digress.
True.
If we want to learn more about what's going on with Paimon, we need to start off this little mini theory by talking about the element of cryo. Because not only is it relevant to what's up with Paimon, but it's also going to be the big focus of the upcoming region of Snezhnaya. That is undeniable, because not only is cryo going to be able to reshape the landscape in Snezhnaya, but we're also going to be getting some new stellar reactions for it.
I'm so excited to see the extent to which the Traveler can like perform this kind of stuff, dude, and the cryo element in general. I'm genuinely very excited to see the new Traveler. Even with the guns, dude. Everything about it is so exciting.
We were talking about why I think Paimon is weak to cryo.
Now, this is going to be an interesting topic, and I want to kind of put this out there before we get into this. Is she going to be weak to cryo, or is it going to be something else entirely that is causing this? I like to think the moon was semi-foreshadowing for what we are about to witness here. Now, there was also the bright side of the moon and the dark side of the moon. There was also areas in the moon that had something like a bubble to keep us in it, basically. At least that's what it looked like, kind of an oxygen bubble where we could all breathe and we could roam around and do fun stuff. If we go too far out, it starts to affect us with that horrible effect where, like, if we go try fly out into space, we get that effect that chokes us, basically, right? I started to think, what if Snezhnaya has like a dome around it? Like this tree, what if it's creating like a preservation dome around Snezhnaya? And until we get there, it's kind of hard to breathe here, you know?
Or at least a certain phenomenon.
But she's fine on Dragonspine? Exactly, which is why I don't necessarily think it's cryo in general. I think it's a different effect.
We were talking about why I think Paimon is weak to cryo.
But it would also make sense for her to be weak to cryo because this is the first time she's actually like harbored cryo in a sense, or that we know of at least, right? As far as we know, like every time we go to a statue of the Seven and we take the element, Paimon also gets maybe a little bit stronger. I like that theory since she has the upside down omni element symbol too.
Or at least a certain phenomenon related to cryo. Let me explain. In the To Snezhnaya and the Future behind the scenes video, the developers mentioned that cryo has some unique properties, and they kind of gave us some ideas as to what those could be, but refused to elaborate further, which probably means it's important. Now, based on what they shared, we can reasonably assume that the special property of cryo is tied to the preservation of both energy and memories, which makes sense because real-world scientists can extract perfectly preserved ancient specimens from ice sheets and other frozen things. In these cases, ice functions like amber, totally encapsulating a specimen so it cannot be eroded by the passage of time.
Ooh. This is very interesting to me, and the reason is I'm thinking of Zhongli and the Tsaritsa's contract together, and I'm thinking of the fact that in Liyue there is also this amber that preserves things inside of it. If it is a contract to end all contracts, and my theory of those contracts being visions is true, I guess it could be a contract with the Tsaritsa about preservation, using multiple forms of preservation, until eventually she can kind of, you know, use the Gnosis to quell vision contracts with Zhongli somehow. It's interesting. Wondering where Ashikai is going to go with this, though, because the amber and the resin stuff is very intriguing. I didn't think about that.
Now, we've seen Genshin reference this a couple of times in places like Dragonspine and during Xiangling's story quest, wherein ancient boars were perfectly preserved and also still alive inside blocks of ice. Oh, and there was a person too. Remember when 4 stars had story quests? Boy, that sure was something, wasn't it? Now, to be clear, it's not the ice that's actually preserving things, because ice is just water that's really cold. And water does not have this preservation property. So temperature is actually playing a larger role in the preservation of whatever you have. So for that reason, I'd like to argue that the element of cryo actually has nothing to do with ice and everything to do with the slowing of kinetic energy, or a reduction of thermal energy, however you want to slice it. So when we talk about kinetic energy, we're talking about movement. And when we talk about thermal energy, we're really talking about the movement of the individual particles that make up a chunk of matter. The faster those individual particles vibrate or move, the hotter something is, and the more thermal energy it has.
Okay.
But the less those particles vibrate and move, the less thermal energy it has.
This is making sense, though. It's a science class, but it's very fitting for what she's about to go through, probably.
And the colder that chunk of matter they belong to gets. And when you stop something from moving or vibrating, you can effectively freeze it in time. Now, this is just a lot of words to say that cryo is a form of stasis, and stasis is a function of both space and time, because movement is defined by both. And
a space and time for everybody.
The particles that make up matter move. As my physicist buddy once said, time is the way we measure changes in space, so if nothing is moving, time becomes imperceptible.
Oh,
so by
that's
this
deep.
logic, low thermal energy slows down the erosion of time, while high thermal energy speeds up the erosion of time. This is why we preserve food in the fridge and break down food on the stove.
Dude, this is like science for 7-year-olds, but it works for me because my brain is that of a 7-year-old.
And I think that Snezhnaya is like a region that got placed into Vat's freezer in order to slow down its passage of time.
Yep, I like that idea. I like that idea a lot. I still like to think, bro, those tree roots coming down is putting like a snow globe over Snezhnaya to preserve it.
Think of the nation as being put in cryostasis, at least in part. After all, we do know that when someone gets cryo applied to them in-game, they go slower. So that's already a function of the element. And I probably could have just led with that, but you know. But the real question here is, why is Snezhnaya in the freezer? Why are they trying to slow down time? Well, the Belyit Tsar died during the Conrian Cataclysm 500 years ago after allegedly opening the gates to Pohola, which is most likely a portal to the Abyss. And that wasn't even the first time he'd tried to do that. According to Hymns of the Far North, he convinced the Third Descender to do it once before as well, and that got the Third Descender killed and then chopped up and made into Gnosis. That's part of the reason
he did it for his love, though.
Why the Third Descender goes by the name Saralainen, which is another name for Lemminkainen, a hero from the Finnish epic Kalevala. Because he also went to Pohola, which is an Arctic realm of the dead from Finnish folklore, and he got chopped up and thrown into the River of Death as a result of his transgressions.
I literally only read about this a couple of weeks ago.
Fun times. Now, we know that the Heavenly Principle hates when people mess with abyssal stuff, and they've used their celestial nails to obliterate entire nations as punishment for even attempting to mess with the abyss. Which begs the question as to why Snezhnaya is still standing, because I don't think it's supposed to be. I think the power of cryo is trying to slow down time in order to prevent an inevitable disaster.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So, I mean, it can't be slowing down time that much, right? It's not like a nail's currently on its way down. So what does she mean by this?
Remember, we saw Child in the teaser trailer asking how long Snezhnaya had left, implying that there's a great unavoidable disaster that they're trying to stop. And that is allegedly what Project Stuzha is for. And Stuzha just means snowy, like the blizzard kind of snowy, which implies a lot of colds going around. So whatever the plan is must be related to cold, or perhaps cold's stasis properties. So what I'm wondering is whether or not there's like celestial nails hovering over Snezhnaya that were once sent down as punishment for opening the gates to the abyss by the Heavenly Principles, and the Tsar at one point was able to create some kind of stasis field around his nation. Now, as
Dude, oh my god, wait a minute. So this is literally what I just said, but I never thought of that. Being in like a snow globe would kind of make sense, right? I still like to think of it, by the way, as like a 50-50 snow globe where there's like a line in the middle, and on the top half is the frozen part, and on the bottom half is the part that we see in the trailer where it's all like foresty and kind of elf style. This is so interesting, dude. This is so interesting. I've never thought about the whole nail fiasco. There's no way, though. That'd That might even be too crazy for Hoyo, surely.
Properties. So what I'm wondering is whether or not there's like celestial nails hovering over Snezhnaya that were once sent down as punishment for opening the gates to the abyss by the
And they're just chilling up there, bro?
heavenly principles, and the Tsar at one point was able to create some kind of stasis field around his nation. Now, as I was recording this, the big hyped Snezhnaya teaser trailer finally dropped. And there's a lot to talk about in it, but the one thing I want to highlight in this video is that there's a scene where they talk about voting to extend Project Stuzha.
True. Wait, so extend the stasis. Why would anybody ever vote against that, though? That's my question, if that was Project Stuzha. Maybe they just don't know the truth of it. They don't know that it's celestial nails and they will literally just be wiped out.
Which means that as of right now, Project Stuzha is already in effect. So the idea that Project Stuzha is actually a cryostasis field around Snezhnaya seems a little bit more probable. Now, this wouldn't stop the nails forever, but it would at least buy the nation a lot of time.
I feel like this guy's going to be so incredibly important. It's unbelievable, dude. His clothes even remind me of the world formula and the thing in Natlan as well, but there's going to be way more to it than just this. It's also the colors of the elements, of course. This guy's going to be so important.
Which might be running out, but this video is not about Project Stuzha, it's about Paimon.
Looks like a Yato, bro. It looks like, what's his name? Misha from Honkai Star Rail.
Which might be running out, but this video is not about Project Stuzha, it's about Paimon, and all of this was merely preamble to make the case that Paimon might be weak to the cold. And by that I mean she's weak to the space-time anomaly that's being caused by the cold.
Oh! Dude, Paimon being weak to stasis, not necessarily the cold or cryo, is... Dude, that is such a good fucking theory. That is such a cool idea.
What makes this feel plausible to me is that the last time Paimon got really exhausted like this against her will to the point
was the chasm
where she passed out and felt ill was all the way back when we were tackling a space-time anomaly in the depths of the chasm.
True.
This space-time anomaly made it feel like time was passing inconsistently for each person. And of all the people in our party, Paimon was the one who had the most extreme reaction to it. While the Traveler felt like only a day or so had passed down there, Paimon was convinced that they'd been down there for months, or like 20 days at the very least. And that's a massive discrepancy. And a short while after realizing all of this, she started to feel kind of sick and then fell into a really deep sleep. Now, you absolutely can make arguments against this event's relevancy, but I feel like we shouldn't dismiss it entirely because Paimon, for all her flaws, is very resilient, and it's very rare that some physical phenomenon messes with her.
Yeah, actually, there was one other time, I think, when we got imprisoned somewhere. Was that the Fontaine prison? It really doesn't happen very often where she gets, like, super exhausted or even, like, drugged or anything. I guess when she met Scarin and Azuma as well. No, I was thinking the Sumeru thing, actually. I was thinking the Sumeru thing where we got jailed there, but that was all part of the grand plan, so it would make sense even if she just faked it. Oh, never mind. Interesting. Okay, very interesting.
Is very resilient, and it's very rare that some physical phenomenon messes with her. Being in areas with dense toxic levels of elemental energy or direct abyssal...
Wait, no, she was fine. It was right there.
...messes with her. Being in areas with dense...
She was fine. Oh my god.
Toxic levels of elemental energy or direct abyssal exposure never seems to impact her. Heck, even instances where Nahida was struggling didn't affect Paimon. So I think it's very interesting that the space-time anomalies in the chasm did have an impact on her. And that's why I think it's very...
And she did also feel like that in the Mayor Javaria where space-time's off whack because it's on a different timeline. Oh my goodness, dude, this is insane.
Possible that Snezhnaya as a nation is experiencing a similar space-time anomaly that's...
I mean, it would also line up with all of this stuff, no? Like space-time, I said before,
did have an impact on her. And that's why I think it's very possible that
I said before, when we do this, we see like the hourglass symbols and stuff. It's probably something to do with the shades. Maybe it is space and time.
Snezhnaya as a
and then this stuff, it's like it literally gets moved up and then put in a stasis. Dude!
Nation is experiencing a similar space-time anomaly that stems from Cryo's ability to put things in a sort of stasis. But the chasm isn't the only space-time anomaly's ability to put things in a... experiencing a similar space-time anomaly that stems from Cryo's...
Do we think our gun doesn't kill people? It just puts them in a stasis? Because look at this. This is interesting.
Ability to put things in a sort of stasis.
Would have to see more. It probably does just kill people.
But the chasm chasm isn't the only space-time anomaly or weird space-time thing that we've encountered, right? Like, they had to travel through some chaotic space-time thingy in A's second story quest, just to bring up an example where she didn't experience any negative effects. But the key metric here may not be the space-time anomaly's existence, but instead the duration of Paimon's exposure to the space-time anomaly. Because, like, it did take a while for the chasm space-time anomalies to wear Paimon down. So it's very possible that Paimon doesn't experience these symptoms immediately. So she wouldn't get that severe feeling of exhaustion right away, even if the space-time anomaly in Snezhnaya was more severe or intense than it was in the chasm. It might take time to sort of wear her down, but maybe it just doesn't take as long as it did in the chasm. And there's evidence for this because, like, notice that the Traveler's chest in the teaser trailer is cryo blue. That means they've already been in Snezhnaya for at least a decent amount of time.
Wait, that is actually true. I didn't think about that. Is that not Hydra? No, true. No, that is definitely cryo blue. Okay, so this isn't their first entrance into Snezhnaya, clearly.
Blue. That means they've already been in Snezhnaya for at least a decent amount of time, plus the duration of the train ride to the capital. And we don't know where the capital is in relation to Snezhnaya's borders either. So it could be that the longer we stay in Snezhnaya, the worse Paimon's symptoms get. And who knows, maybe this becomes a plot point. But also worth noting, since we're talking about people falling asleep on trains, there were a bunch of people in the chat and comment section of my live stream analysis that noted that Paimon slowly falling asleep on the train reminded them a lot of how March 7th started feeling ill and fell asleep on the train during the journey to Amphorius in.
It would be very interesting if Paimon does indeed go into a cryostasis herself on the train, or maybe not even on the train, but somewhere. And we don't have Paimon with us for this chapter. That'd be kind of crazy.
Honkai Star Rail. Now, this could be a coincidence, but it is interesting that Amphorius was experiencing a space-time anomaly as well. And it did have an indirect relationship to March that could have ended with someone freezing the entire timeline, like slowing time all the way down until
March is also the poster girl for HSR.
It doesn't move anymore. But while March was related to the time half of space-time, Paimon might have had more of a relationship to the space half. After all, space and time define each other. And when you mess around with one, you mess around with the other. Which would also support the idea that Paimon has another connection to Asmodee, and I'm gonna stop before people bring out the pitchforks again.
God damn it.
Okay, that's really all I wanted to say about Paimon, but I do have two little related side thoughts to share before you go. Partly because I'm not used to really short theories like this, and I feel like I haven't really given you much to chew on. So, I guess I'm kind of compensating.
Honestly, I vibe with the short theories. I do. That was fun.
Anyway, the first thing I wanted to share is that the idea of stasis and preservation isn't the only thing that the developers mentioned when they were talking about the special abilities of Cryo. They also mentioned how Cryo could be used to hide or seal an ancient forbidden concept or power from the world, which the Traveler might be able to tap into at some point.
I was also wondering if Paimon has had this power for the longest time, and because we absorbed Cryo, it temporarily suppressed whatever that power is of hers, and that's why she felt so shit, but she doesn't know that she had the power, you know, it's like latent inside of her.
Now, this could be their way of talking about the stellar reactions that we're getting, but given how they also told us about how the stellar linchpins that make those reactions are connected to the third descender, it's actually possible that the power Cryo is hiding is related to that instead. Especially since the third descender allegedly died in Snezhnaya while unsealing a forbidden power, likely the Abyss, and the Cerise has been collecting their remains. Which brings me to the second thing I wanted to talk about, which has to do with stellar linchpins and Cryo as well. So after watching Sandrone's teaser trailer, I couldn't help but notice how Sandrone looked at her cryostellar linchpin while talking about Polonia, and how Polonia is also gone. Which feels really weird to me because Polonia is just a machine, right? And Sandrone's specialty is building and fixing machines, and she's modified him a bunch of times. And we know the bulk of Polonia's body is still intact, if not a bit banged up, because we saw it. So there has to be some external reason.
We see it at the end of the quest as well. If you go back to the house, he's just stood there. She's trying to fix him.
As to why Polonia doesn't work anymore and Sandrone can't fix him. And this made me wonder if the reason that she can't fix Polonia is because Polonia's ability to function is tied to the stellar linchpin. Like, what if the second chance that Elaine left her was tied to both Polonia and the linchpin inside of him, assuming that it was inside of him? Now, I know the linchpins are technically tied to the third descender.
I feel like if it was inside of him, she would have found it though, right? If she's done so many modifications on him and stuff. Interesting thought.
But the Narcissenkreutz's Ordo Elaine was working with was also researching Descenders and Visions.
True.
So I don't think this idea is totally off the table.
That's a fair point. I forgot about that. There was actually quite a bit of Descender lore in the Narcissenkreuz Institute questline, in the notes outside the Ordo.
And if they did go that route, then it would be kind of symbolic in a lot of ways that I think work really well for her character. Because Elaine made Polonia because he couldn't stay at Sandrone's side because, you know, he's human and she's a robot. So if the stellar linchpin is connected to that action, then her awakening it or using it or obtaining it from Polonia and Elaine is kind of like symbolic of her inheriting their legacy. It would also be thematically appropriate because Sandrone and Polonia in the Commedia dell'arte are technically husband and wife. So if Sandrone sort of like spiritually carries a piece of Polonia with her going forward in the form of a stellar linchpin legacy, since linchpins appear to—
Dude, I really thought Polonia was going to be kind of recycled into Fagio. That's what I thought was going to happen. You know, another interesting thing I think that kind of made me think Sandrone's quest could have done with just being its own standalone thing to, you know, add a little bit more to her character, because I think it did a lot for her. I think it was a very good quest. We didn't learn shit about Fagio, bro. Was she just like, you know, I'll make a girly pop one now. Yeah, Fagio didn't even show up. She mentioned him mentioned her once at the beginning, I think, but her entire quest was about moving forward. I also feel like moving on from Polonia, even if she does plan to fix him in the future, would be a good idea to kind of mention a bit more, you know?
Be like visions, and visions are like desires and wishes and hopes and dreams and all that kind of stuff, and I think that applies to legacies as well. Then you can argue that she actually underwent a chemical marriage with Polonia, and the whole alchemical marriage thing is very much a Narcissenkreuz Ordo sort of dealio, and those are Marionette's origins.
Yep.
So I think that'd be pretty cool, if true. A lot of contingencies for that to be true, though.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Very soon, probably.
That's fair, though.
Maybe this video won't age well at all. I don't know. Regardless, I would like to extend a huge thanks to all of my channel members for supporting me and all the nonsense that I make. And I will say that I am in the middle of cooking a really big honka theory, so I hope this tides you over until we get that thing finished. She's a bit of a beast, so I guess I'll just go work on that now. But while I do that, let me know your thoughts about what's coming in Snezhnaya, and also what you think is wrong with Paimon, because I'm sure there's more options than just what I've presented.
Of course there is.
Whoever
I actually really fuck with that theory, though, to be honest.
Right, gets bragging rights, I guess. So thanks for watching. I'll see you later. Bye.
I like that theory a lot. I really do. I think that is a very strong theory. Great video, dude. Go check out HYTE Gamers.